So yesterday, I had an incredible experience on the street. I heard the street musician Azuru, Japanese guy, an old guy, sax player, and there was something about his music and there's something about his sound that just rearranged my brain. I'm still processing exactly what went down when I heard this man play this alto sax. Now, first of all, I almost never talk to street musicians. I usually give them money, but I just stand there and listen. But there was something about Azuru that just was different. This guy had just more soul. He was pushing something through that horn that I never felt before. There was such joy, such pain, sadness, but life. Here's this little guy on the streets of Brooklyn making this incredible sound amongst the car horns and sirens and babies crying and just people paying absolutely no attention to him, the life of a true artist, and just doing it. Now, I looked at his box on the street. It had like $2 in it or something. I threw $1 in and I started listening. And I kept listening. And he was playing, he was just going. He wasn't like one of those guys who just played the same thing over and over again. He was free. He just played everything. He played Milestones. He played The Girl from Ipanema. He played a lot of, and just took them in different places. But I'm listening like an audiophile to his sound, pushing notes through this horn. So when he took a break, I sat down next to him. He was on a bench, and I asked him his name. That's when I learned his name was Azuru. And he started telling me his story. He came to New York. He had a very thick accent. He's Japanese. He came to the U.S. in the 60s or 70s to California. And as soon as he hit California, well, he was hanging out with other musicians and stuff. And things are happening, but he wanted to come to New York. He just knew that New York was it for him, and he loved Miles Davis. So he told me he's just crazy. He's just going on about, he met Keith Richards once, and Keith was wearing this amazing, I guess it was a fur coat. It was this very elaborate thing that just was incredible and made a strong impression on him. But he just said that Keith was so sweet to him and so nice to him and encouraging to him. It's like, yeah. But he was obsessed with Jimi Hendrix. When he was a kid, he told me he played nothing but Jimi Hendrix. He grew his hair. He tried to look like Jimi Hendrix, like a Japanese Jimi Hendrix. He's such a character. So anyway, he's telling me these stories, and he said that recently he's in the subway, and he's playing, and then he just sort of, he's an old guy. He's not in the best of health, and he just kind of slipped and fell. And as he fell, a train was coming into the station, and it just sort of grazed his head and sort of pulled him a little bit. And as he's like pulling and he's holding on for dear life to his sax, he let go. The sax somehow got hit by the train, and the train just destroyed the sax. There's nothing left of the saxophone. But all these people, he was talking about how much he loved New York. All these people came to his aid and helped him get up, and they called 911. They came and took him in an ambulance to a hospital, and he wasn't doing that great before, but he was doing a little worse after he got hit by a subway train, and lived to tell the tale. And his head was grazed. He said he had all these things in his head. His head looked fine to me, but he was I just kept listening. He kept talking. He kept playing. And I was so moved by the experience, because I guess a big part of me would have loved to have been a musician. And I did try. When I was young, I tried to learn various instruments, piano and harpsichord and didgeridoo. I mean, I was playing. And the thing about didgeridoo, which is the Australian you don't need to play in tune or in time or anything. It was just this sounding instrument. So It seemed like the perfect instrument for a person who has no sense of time or pitch. But even so, I never got it together as a musician. But I love being around musicians. I somehow relate to musicians, especially jazz musicians. There's just something about the way they improvise. They're sort of composing on the spot as they play, you know. And Izuru really, it was just a master of that. Just his songs, they had a structure, but they just went in a million different places, and that just grabbed me. So I don't know. I feel I'm gonna know more about Izuru over time. He plays not far from where I live in Brooklyn, so I've seen him before, but there was just something about what happened this time that changed me. So at one point he was playing Bye Bye Blackbird, and he did it. He did it like nobody else. He made it his own. It was a trip. And it was one of those things, he just kept going with it. He probably played it for 10 minutes or so. And it wasn't boring because he just kept doing what jazz musicians do. He kept inventing. He kept twisting it. He kept folding and turning around the melody, and just, wow. It was a thrill just to be there in his presence. And we talked, and he showed me this flyer of where he played recently in the city, and maybe if he does it again, I'll go and see him in a club. But the thing is, I once wrote a story about a fiction story of a homeless jazz musician, but not a sax player, piano player, which is tough for a street musician because you can't like haul around a piano. But I wrote this story because it seemed to me that a lot of what happens in an artist's life involves rejection. There's a huge amount of rejection for any artist or musician. When you're famous, everybody's kissing your ass. But when you're out there on your own, like a Rolling Stone, it ain't so easy, right? So I'm struggling, as you can see here, to describe what went down. But I've been changed. And by the way, yes, as an audiophile, there were things I was listening to. I was thinking like, wow, can an audio system ever do what Izuru did in his sound? So to finish this thing up, I am going to play a little bit of Izuru playing, and it's a short bit, and I think I'm done. But my name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, kind of a different sort of episode here. But if you like this sort of thing, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, which is almost always about equipment and stuff. But today it just had to be. It had to be about Izuru. So, without any further ado, here he is. Thank you so much for watching.